to Picard Panel. I'm Chelsea Gohd with Space.com, and I'm here with Diana Whitcroft from Live Science, David Lumb from TechRadar, Marshall Honorof from Tom's Guide, and Tariq Malik from Space.com. We're here to talk about the latest and 5th episode of Star Trek Picard, Stardust City Rag. Now, you may have seen us chatting about this episode on Friday. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues. Luckily, Scotty was able to help us out, and fingers crossed, everything today goes smoothly. So, as usual, a quick reminder, there will be spoilers if you've not seen the episode yet. So,
the whole weekend. And the whole weekend.
Yeah, come on. like really get it together.
Closer to episode 6 than episode 5 now.
It's embarrassing at this point. But let's dive into it. So, the 2nd episode of the series to be directed by Jonathan Frakes, a.k.a. Riker. How do we feel about his directing so far with these 2 episodes?
Oh, yeah.
Excited about it?
Yeah. I love his style. I think he's just a really, really solid director, and he's directed a lot of other sci-fi cable and network shows over the years, and he's always just a solid person.
A lot of Star Trek, too.
A lot of Star Trek.
Yeah, awesome. So, kind of the show itself, the episode itself, it opens on a pretty gruesome scene. Yeah. It's gruesome. Boo! Get out. So you bring up an important point. This is a character that we have seen in the Star Trek universe before. How do we feel to be revisiting this character and also to be seeing this character be torn apart and murdered?
I thought it was pretty extreme for a character that, if he wasn't a major character, he was at least a big supporting character. And I expected if they were going to bring him back, he'd get a little bit of a better send-off.
At least a couple minutes of airtime before he's brutally ripped apart.
That was one of the worst Star Trek deaths just in general.
Yeah, and another... I'm sorry, Tariq.
Oh, no, we should point out this is Icheb, the Borg kid that the Voyager crew pick up in Star Trek Voyager, and Seven takes him under her wing.
Kind of like her son.
Exactly, and we see them being harvested for parts, which I said at the beginning... You can go back and you can watch it again. That people are using Borg tech for reasons, and they're grabbing stuff.
Nefarious reasons.
And so I agree with Marshall. A bit of a quick send off. Not even the same Icheb, which I just found out. I mean, it's been a long time.
I guess it was only on screen for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So maybe the original actor was like, absolutely not. I'm not coming on just for this.
Sorry.
Diana, what did you say?
It also acts as another reminder, that scene, that pretty much, you're not watching your mom's Star Trek anymore with all the cursing and terrible violence.
Yeah,
it's totally a different aesthetic now.
100%. Yeah, it kind of is still going along that same vein of a little bit grittier than, if we're comparing it to TNG. How do we feel about that kind of shift in general?
It's kind of body horror is not a frontier for Star Trek, but it's definitely a lot more gruesome and a lot more in your face. So this is kind of reinforcing that we are in a bit more of a mature Star Trek, and they're going to take us in these kind of places. But it's also, this is very much like a logical avenue for Borg storylines to go, and I'm excited to see a lot of not just like cutting apart these cadavers of Borg or these ex-Borg, but like really what the galaxy would do.
Yeah, 100%.
I would also say that the scene itself is a bit of a throwback to First Contact. The very first scene in First Contact is the flashback where Picard is about to get his eye taken out, and it stops the second before that. So I expected the same thing to happen. I said, it's a throwback to the shot. It's going to stop. Oh, no, it's still going, and I feel kind of sick.
And it's like, they're going to keep showing that. Okay, all right.
I'm definitely not ready for that. I mean, I know there's a more adult kind of show, but there is something to be said for letting your mind fill in the blanks. And you can kind of suggest that something bad is happening and people can figure it out, but to just fully put it out there...
And I'm usually someone who's very much a fan of gore and violence, and especially cursing. But when it comes to Next Generation, it's just, I don't know. I felt like they always hooked you with a dramatic storyline and a moral that was so much more compelling and held your attention more than gratuitous violence. Yeah, that's not maybe the place that, for Next Gen.
I mean, you think of the piles of the Borg parts from Species 8472 in Voyager. There's an implied horror without you seeing it all out there in that one. But anyway, this just reinforces my point that the Borg are being used for stuff and don't have their status anymore. Also, I did look it up, and that doctor we see in the beginning there, her actual title is Chalk Doc. So.
Oh my god. So speaking of nefarious activities, after 4 episodes of waiting, we finally get to see Free Cloud. And I don't know about you guys, I was a little disappointed. I thought it was kind of like, we see Free Cloud for a few minutes.
It's a bar.
It's a bar and like kind of this vaguely Blade Runner-esque, but more like Wreck-It Ralph animation style. And it was like, I was so excited. I was like, oh, it's going to be this gritty, cool Trek underbelly. And it was kind of just like, hey, look at that, we're gone.
Yeah, it wasn't
what do you guys
Coruscant,
think?
right? So
Yeah.
another franchise.
Bad Vegas.
So,
It was
Space Vegas.
Spooky Vegas. Yeah.
having just recently come back from CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, which is in Vegas. I was thinking, wow, this is just Vegas, but in space, and it's not even any grittier than the Strip. It's just
It's less gritty than Vegas
Actually,
from
yeah.
my brief time spent there.
Actually,
Yeah.
Just as annoying.
Yeah.
and maybe this is the old TOS fan in me, but when you show this world where a lot of humans live that's very, very capitalistic, I expected there to be a subplot about, this is why the Federation gave all this up, and how does commerce even work here?
Some kind of like integral tie to the overall themes and that we're seeing with kind of everyone's shifting perspective on the Federation.
Yeah, but instead it was just, it's a casino planet. How cool is that?
It's like sick.
we have an Orion slave girl.
Yeah.
It's like,
So besides just getting to see Free Cloud in general, a few pretty big things happen when we get there.
7.
Namely, 7 has this huge, albeit brief storyline, but Bruce Maddox is officially alive. It's confirmed. We see him. He's getting beat to a bloody pulp, and he's played by a different actor.
Again, not a
different actor.
Here.
And so we have the Bruce Maddox and 7 of 9 kind of plot line, and then we have a very short but very emotional plot line with Raffi and her son, who was pretty rude and wanted nothing to do with her. She's cleaning up her act. I thought that was kind of brief, kind of strangely brief of an interaction. I don't know, what do you guys think?
well, yeah, I mean, considering that we accused the previous episode of being very filler, this one was like, okay, let's delve into everyone's past, but let's do it real fast.
They could have just spaced it out.
Yeah, because I wanted to know what went on with 7 of 9 and Bjayzl, but I also wanted to see more of an interaction between Raffi and her son, especially since he married a Romulan and she's pregnant. But I'm sorry, what did you?
Yeah,
I know. I just kind of.
There's a lot of stuff that they just like didn't really get into. I mean, Bjayzl and 7 of 9, there's a vibe, not explored.
Also, Bjayzl is not Marina Sirtis. I got emails.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
people
looks.
saying
She is
the
not
mob
Marina
boss
Sirtis. Yeah.
She is a whole other person.
Yeah. Marina
Picard's
will
adding in-
allegedly be there at some point in time. She's not Bjayzl.
Yeah, she's on NCIS New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Different person. So.
Yeah. Anyone else kind of? Let's dive into them each separately. So let's talk about Raffi for a sec.
So Raffi's arc got hinted at in the very beginning of this episode
Yes.
because when they arrive on Free Cloud, they get these kind of digital like eye ads on the ship.
She got the like snake
The
and
snake, yeah. What's your poison? Oh, I thought she was going there for drugs like the entire time. This is like, oh, you're going
It
to Free
seemed like
Cloud?
kind of an
Oh,
emotional goodbye with Picard just for picking up drugs, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so when she meets her son again, and I saw that coming as soon as she goes into the clinic, and there's the man waiting.
Oh yeah, it's like an obvious like, oh crap, yeah.
But she says that she's gotten clean now, so she clearly had they were marketing towards her. I guess they searched her Starfleet internet browser history or something. I know that's what she was looking for.
Star Trek Zuckerberg gave them her information.
But I was also wondering what her daughter-in-law, the Romulan, I didn't catch her name.
I don't know if they said her name.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Is wondering because it's like, oh well, here's your mom.
I'm sure he's like told her about
dinner?
her, and she's like, okay, this is clearly a tense situation.
I'm
Nice to
gonna be
meet
crying.
you. Let's be polite.
Humans will be humans.
Humans
right?
will be humans. David, Marshall, thoughts on the tense, heartbreaking moments that Raffi had this episode?
I guess maybe it's just me. I'm still not that invested in Raffi to get her whole backstory.
Okay.
I'm with you on that.
That's fair, yeah.
I feel the same way about Rios as well, and now Eleanor. They keep picking up these characters, but it's almost like you were saying a couple weeks ago. They fill archetypes in a role-playing game. They're defined by how useful they are to the quest.
Yes.
I'm not really
They've been
invested.
picked up very quickly also.
They have.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I like them. They're likable characters, but I don't know how invested I should get in them because, like Discovery, they might not be around that long.
Yeah. Might be like Bjayzl. Just
Yeah.
Ooh, you were here for 5 seconds.
And also, it's implied that Picard is such good friends with them. With all the flashbacks we've seen are, 15 minutes of Picard making friends with this person, and now they're BFFs for life.
Yeah.
And,
I know he's met countless people throughout this. Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
No, I definitely think that Rafi's story is kind of half works, and you see the price she pays with the relationship with her son for following Picard's kind of big, bold, but sort of against the grain missions.
Yeah.
And this is at least a window into how the system actually sees what Picard was doing and all of his kind of mad quests, and maybe a little bit about how they weren't. It wasn't received as well as we initially thought, given our biases with Picard. We assume everyone's on board. We assume the entire Federation's on board. And every episode we get a little bit more about, who actually, appreciates this. And I think the same thing with the Fenris Rangers.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, we talk about Picard and his status. He's clearly not recognizable anymore.
Which is okay. So that brings me to my next question/topic. So the Bjayzl 7 of 9 situation. We are introduced to that first with the Bjayzl costumes, which are, while her name might be questionable at best, her costumes are
fabulous.
Next level, unbelievably cool. But then the crew has these horrendous costumes and these weird accents. Nobody needed Picard to do that accent. Nobody asked for that.
His French accent.
Okay, one person needed Picard to do that.
I was very,
what accent was it?
That's a great question.
No,
exactly.
Whatever it was, I was here for it.
So we see them kind of getting into character, which is kind of, a throwback to TNG, the Q episodes, or, they're on the holodeck, whatever.
Holodeck episode.
They're in their fedoras and playing detective, which is, kind of a fun nod, but there was no, in my opinion, reason for any of that, because we see them get to Free Cloud, we see, Rios do his whole swagger thing, we see Picard come in with his eye patch, and they do the whole 7 of 9 trading, the lizard man is sniffing out the truth, they have this elaborate plan, and then when the first thing goes wrong, they shoot all the bad guys and there are no repercussions and they get out of there without a hitch.
No one in the bar cares.
No
The
one
shootout is happening.
Sometimes you gotta dress up right.
I mean, that's
but it was
fair.
hokey. Put on a fedora, Picard.
It would have, in my opinion, been nice to see that, I don't know, they needed to have an elaborate plan, that it wasn't just kind of thrown in there for the sake of being thrown in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm being nitpicky. What do you guys think of this mess?
No, they got out of it very easily.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would also say that, just as a point of order, does anyone know what species Mr. Bop was? 'Cause
Nope.
I don't think we've seen that before. Little Riemann-ish, but not quite.
I have no
No, I don't
idea, no.
Okay. And, there didn't seem to be any real consequence for things going wrong, aside from them shooting their way out, which is not very Star Trek-y.
Right. Normally when the heist goes south, then there's a serious, the stakes are much higher. And instead it's Seven's just gonna get in close and that's it, right?
Yeah. And people didn't really seem to care the entire... Oh, wait, this is what I was going to say. I was, however, very disappointed that we didn't see Morn just sitting at the bar. I was really expecting him to show up.
My favorite.
We did get a Quark mention.
Yes,
He did mention, and how he handled the Breen, and I was like, ooh, okay.
A couple little nuggets thrown in there.
Yeah.
But so
one of the things that I questioned is the ending of this episode, when 7 of 9 does get her I guess her payback, her due from Bjayzl. If I'm Bjayzl and I just get attacked and everyone gets knocked out,
I'm not just gonna be hanging out
I'm
there
not
waiting
gonna
for her to
leave
return.
and go somewhere else, and yet she's just sitting there waiting.
For such a fearsome mob boss, it doesn't, and she had no one around her protecting her.
No security.
Yeah, and then it was just she's this cool, mysterious villain that has this vibe with 7 and this past and these cool costumes. And then she's just gone.
Yeah.
Maybe they were so embarrassed by their choice of name that they were just we're done. We're writing her out.
She
the
did have
costumes,
7
man.
did have 2 phaser rifles, so.
I mean, I guess, but
She was already on stun to begin with, to be fair, right? The first couple shots were on stun. Because there were the moonbeams. So I thought that she stunned the handmaidens. I might be mistaken.
It's likely. I don't know. She seems to be her character seems to be evolving, and she seems to be caring a little less about those things.
Ooh, I can't wait till she calls Picard JL, right?
Yeah, that was.
I'm getting tired of that, by the way.
Not to jump episode to episode, but I don't need that. So we're just kind of jumping topic to topic, going through the whole episode. The next and possibly the biggest moment of the episode, Dr. Girardi, not only do we find out that she has this backstory romantic relationship with Bruce Maddox, but he gets rescued onto the ship and she kills him. Yeah. So let's discuss what in the world is happening. Who is she really? Is she Jacques Vache? What's the deal?
Or
I mean,
agent.
Last time we saw Commodore O was talking to her with those Men in Black glasses. I doubt she just asked her a few questions, said, okay, bye. I'm willing to bet that they worked out some sort of deal, or she was threatened, because clearly she didn't look happy when she did that. Yeah. I'm willing to bet that, I don't know, maybe family was threatened and she had to take Maddox out.
Well, she says, I wish you knew what I know, and I wish they had never told me, or you knew what they told me. Yeah. So someone told her something.
Someone told her something about something.
Yeah. And so
we know that much.
Is it the synths that told her that? Is it the Romulans?
The Romulans who told her something about the synths, and now she's on their side. She knows something about kind of the destroyer.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you notice that Bruce Maddox took like all the credit for creating the synths, and then he's like, oh, you also had something to say, which I thought, well, wait.
And also that moment reveals that while Picard was telling her about Dodge, she knew the whole time.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my god, no way. Yeah. So, what do you guys think? Any thoughts on that kind of last huge bomb dropped?
I thought that Dr. Maddox looked like a very different kind of character this time around. I know that we didn't get a huge amount of time with him in the previous episode, but now all of a sudden he's this like funny, baking, romantic kind of guy with a big dream. Before
like,
he was so
gonna
technical.
Make you cookies. Like, okay.
I just didn't see him as having a romantic interest in anyone, and I don't know. I guess he didn't stick around long enough for us to find out, but it was dramatic.
Yeah. Any last thoughts, David?
I'm excited to see which side Girardi's really playing for, and who she may kill next.
That is excellent. So I'm gonna leave it there on that note. We'll see who she kills next.
We're taking bets.
So until next time, this has been Picard Panel, and stay tuned. We will be live on Friday at 4 p.m. So be prepared, watch the episode, or we will spoil it for you. Thank you guys so much. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Bye.